All right, welcome to tonight's special council meeting. Let me just really call to order. I know City Clerk Ayala, you're present, right, with us?
I am here.
Can you make the roll call?
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
President Dominguez.
I'm present.
President Pro Temp Natartez.
Present.
Councilor Booker Jr.
Present.
Councilor Burke.
Present.
Councilor Goodwin. Councilor Dice.
Present.
Councilor Sadai.
Present.
Okay, 6 present, 1 absent.
Okay, thank you. All right, so at this time, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna read the logistics real quick, and then we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, the prayer, and I'll take care of that. All right, so due to the ongoing national and state public health emergency caused by the global coronavirus pandemic, City of New London public meetings will be held virtually. Meeting agendas can be found at newlondonc.org, and an audio recording of this meeting will be posted on the city website within 7 days of the meeting. Public comment may be submitted in writing to jstarts@newlondonct.org. If you prefer, you may sign up to speak at the following link on the City of New London website, newlondonct.org/live-stream. This link will bring you to a fillable form where you may submit your name and you will be added to public comment list and called on via Zoom during the public comment portion of the meeting. Public comment must be submitted in writing or your name submitted on the fillable sign-up form on the city website at least 15 minutes prior to the scheduled start time of the meeting. Okay, with that said, this is a special council meeting. Tonight, Wednesday, May 27, 2020, at 6 p.m. And at this time, I just want to really quickly welcome everyone, all the councilors. Welcome Director McBride, Attorney Londrigan, Jenny Start, Assistant to the Administrator, to the Council, City Clerk Ayala, and every other person that is in our community that is with us here this evening. At this time, I am going to ask us to rise to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I don't see the mayor there with the flag, so we'll kind of use mine in the background over there. So I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now in Spanish, prometo lealtad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América, a la república que representa una nación ante Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos. Thank you. And let me just do a quick prayer real quick. Father, I just thank you for this evening. I thank you for all the counselors, the administration, everyone that's even on board right now in this meeting. I ask that you will continually safeguard this city, not only economically, but also, Father, spiritually, and also health-wise, Father God. I ask that throughout this pandemic that your hand may cover all our residents, our healthcare workers, our first responders, and even our children, Father, that you protect us, and that, Lord, this pandemic will end soon. I pray that in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Okay, so with that said, I am going to open it up for public comment. Just also like to welcome Mayor Pastor. I don't know if I called out his name. So welcome Mayor Pastor also to our meeting. No one signed up for public comment, but I don't know if there's anybody on the Zoom right now that has that would like to comment. Please raise your hand so that I can see you, or do the reaction. At least I could see you with that.
Shanice Austin raised her hand.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Daniel, and welcome also, Daniel. Thank you so much. Okay, hello, Shanice Austin. Thank you for coming tonight, and you have 3 minutes.
All right, thank you, Councilor Dominguez. Good evening, everyone. My name is Shanice Austin. I live at 1132 Ocean Avenue, and I just have a few comments to make. The The first comment is regarding the CDC just released last week that guidelines for school reopening for the fall. And some of their plans and recommendations include desks being placed 6 feet apart. If that cannot be accomplished, schools must have protective. They're recommending that desks are outfitted with protective screens for the students. In regards to riding the school bus, students must, there's 1 student per seat, and they're recommending that you skip every other seat. And they're also recommending that PPE be available for all students, teachers, and administrators, in addition to additional cleaning throughout the day. So I bring this up at this meeting because all of these measures translates into dollars. So my question for the council is there a line item specifically in regards to school reopening as we deal with the COVID-19 moving into the new school year, and how that will be funded? My second question that sort of piggybacks a little bit off of this is in regards to a survey. I wondered whether or not the city or the Board of Ed has submitted surveys to parents to gauge their input and get their input on their plans for sending their children back to school in the fall. I think that's an important piece as we start to make plans for the school year and looking at budgets and costs. We need to know whether or not students are coming back and whether or not parents feel safe with the plans that we're making in regards to sending children back to school. My second comment is in regards to the City of New London recovery team. I had inquired about this at a previous meeting. Governor Lamont had requested that several weeks ago, towns and municipalities put together a recovery team that is bipartisan, comprised of city councilors, community leaders, nonprofits, educators, business owners, corporate partners. And I wondered whether or not that has taken place. I urge the city, and I mentioned this last time, to be
1
fiscally
minute.
conservative. Every department must make cuts. That's including the police and fire, as well as city government and the Board of Ed. In March, the city had mentioned that the police department had mentioned that they would be scaling back on non-emergency services. And so I would imagine that there should be a surplus in many of these departments. And I did not see a surplus as a line item that was mentioned. And then lastly, before wrapping up, I wondered about the $331,000 for Camp New London. What is that? As well as the police private protect fund, which was $474,000. Thank you.
Thank you. This is President Dominguez speaking. Thank you, Ms. Austin. Those are very important questions that you have brought up. Usually on special council meetings, we don't respond to public comment, but as usual, we do have the administration is listening to these questions. They're writing them down, and you'll have a respond. Eventually, my belief is that either they'll email directly or they will post it on the website. Okay, so thank you, and again, thank you for your participation. Not sure if anyone else is available. Daniel, I don't know if you see anybody else with the hand raised or maybe on the phone that would like to take this time to speak during public comment.
I don't see anybody raised yet.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you, sir. With that,
One
so
more,
this is-
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Someone just raised their hand. Chris.
Okay, I see it.
Chris.
Yep. All right, go ahead. I think it's Chris, if I'm not mistaken. Go ahead. You can unmute her. Go ahead, Chris. You have 3 minutes. Thank you for coming tonight to speak during public comment.
Good evening, all. I think, as some of you know,
Make sure, excuse
My
me, I didn't mean
best.
to interrupt you, but make sure that you state your name, address, and
Yes,
then you
my
have 3
best.
minutes.
Chris Raitt, 137 Ocean Avenue. So good evening, counselors. I've been following the budget process over these past couple of readings, and I don't think it probably would be surprising to all of you to say, like, I'm really discouraged. The fact that Counselor Burke was the only one to say in last week's reading, hey, let's let's slow down. Let's take a little more time. Let's assemble the appropriations board to really think and consider that we're making the right decisions here. The fact that no one else stood with him is just sad. The rest of you mostly seem like a bunch of yes men and women to me. I have to be honest right now. And I can't believe in this moment, like I voted for most of you. The town you are budgeting for is more of the same. It's more police, it's more fire, it's a continued mistrust and divestment from our public schools. It's an underfunded public works department. It's a city that is absolutely not planning for global climate change. The city you are planning for, I mean, a third of our citizens were in poverty before COVID. What is it now? And whose needs are at the center of the budget you're voting for tonight? In my opinion, it is not struggling New Londoners. It is not our youth. It is not my Black and brown brothers and sisters who live in this community, because if you cared about them, you'd be divesting from the New London Police Department. Rest in peace, George Floyd. You would be coming up with what Jacqueline Navargratz, I'm going to mess up her name, says is like, we need our moral imagination right now. These are my tax dollars. I am happy to pay them. The fact that you are prioritizing a tax cut over our people's needs, I'm so disappointed. And I know one of the responses to Ms. Shanice Austin's question is going to be, oh, well, there's federal COVID money that's going to help the schools. You and I both know that $1 million is going to go in
1 minute.
It's going to go in a heartbeat, and it's not going to cover the needs that all of our students have. I don't know. It's the third reading. I assume like it's going to go the way it's gone in the past. Like I said, I feel pretty discouraged. But it is never too late for each of you to develop some moral courage and imagination on what our city could be instead of more of the same, leaving a good chunk, a third of people behind. I'm done. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Chris. This is President Dominguez speaking. All right, at this time, we are going to, let me just in case, is there anybody else, Daniel, that you see? I'm looking at it too, so just in case. If not.
No one yet.
Okay. All right. Okay, this is President Dominguez speaking. So at this time, I'm going to proceed with the items in the agenda. Councilors, make sure you pay attention as you always do, because I have already selected each of you to either read part of it, or you don't have to read the whole thing. Remember, these items have already been, the agenda has already been out for a while, so you can just, read the first part of it, and that's it. And then we can, make sure you move it to Cam. We have the discussion, and then we'll go and vote. And it's all of them are roll call vote, right? So for the first one, not sure if Councilor Goodwin is on, if he arrived, or if not, then we will proceed. I will ask President Pro Tem Alma Nartates to do Cam A.
Okay, this is President Pro Tem Nartates, Cam A, Ordinance 527-2001. The City Council approves Ordinance number 527-2001, fixing the time when the tax laid on the assessment list of October 1st, 2019 shall be due for fiscal year 2020-2021. The statutory requirement for 3 separate readings is waived. Ordinance number 0527-2001 is given its first and second readings in the process of passage by title only. All councilors having copies in the third reading of the subject ordinance is adopted by roll call vote.
Okay. Do I have a second?
This is Councilor Burke. I will second the motion.
Thank you, Councilor Burke. This is President Dominguez. I have a second. Okay. Now, any discussion on this from any councilor? Just make sure you state your name and then you proceed with your discussion. Okay. Oh, Councilor Sadi, go ahead, sir. You have the floor.
So
I hear the CAM. Is there not supposed to be a specific date of July 1st? I mean, it talks about October 1st, but shouldn't the CAM have a date when we're going to start collecting these taxes?
This is
Maybe
President, yeah,
You, President Dominguez, to
yes,
Finance Director McBride.
thank you, sir.
I-
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. This is Director McBride. There's no specific date. The date is inherent in the wording of the fiscal year 2020, 2021. The date commences on July 1st of that fiscal year.
I have no further questions and plan on voting in favor of this motion.
okay, this is President Dominguez speaking. Thank you, Councilor Sadi. Any further discussion from any other councilor? Okay, all right, seeing none, let's vote. City Clerk Ayala, go ahead.
Counselor Kevin Booker,
Yes.
Counselor Sadi,
Yes.
President Pro Temp Natartez,
Yes.
Counselor Goodwin,
Yes.
Counselor Dice,
Yes.
President Dominguez,
Yes,
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
7 yes.
okay, thank you. The motion passes. All right, very good. All right, so the next one is B, and that goes to you, Councilor Goodwin. We're just reading it and then we're moving it to Cam, reading it to be able to vote on it. I don't know if you have the agenda in front of you. I know you just,
No, my internet's out, so I'm in the car, so you'll have to
Oh,
skip me for reading.
don't worry, sir, then I'll take care of it. You know what? I'll have Councilor Booker. Councilor Booker, do you have it
thank
in
you,
front of
sir.
you? You're welcome.
Problem.
You're welcome. Go ahead.
The City Council approves ordinance number 5-27-20-02, appropriating the annual sum of $100,000 for the City Center District for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2020, and ending June 30th, 2021. The statutory requirement of 3 separate readings is waived. Ordinance number 5-27-20-02 is giving its first and second readings and the process of passage by title only. All councilors having copies, and the third reading of the subject ordinance is adopted by roll call vote.
Do I have a second?
Second,
Thank
President Pro
you.
Tem.
Thank you. It's been seconded by President Pro Temp Natates. All right, any discussion on this, Cam? Councilor Booker, did you have your hand up? Is that you?
No.
Okay, I just thought I saw your hand. All right. Okay, seeing none, let's vote. City Clerk Ayala, go ahead.
Council Dice,
Yes.
Council Goodwin,
Yes.
Council Booker Jr.,
Yes.
President Pro Temp Natartez,
Yes.
Council Burke,
Yes.
President Dominguez,
Yes,
Council Sadi,
Yes.
7 yes.
okay, thank you, City Clerk Ayala. This is President Dominguez speaking. The motion carries. Okay, let's continue. The next one is C. Okay, that goes to Sadi, Councilor Sadi, please.
Ordinance number 05-27-20-03. And the CAM reads, the City Council approved ordinance number 05-27-20-3, fixing the time when the tax laid on the assessment list of October 1st, 2019 for the City Center District shall be due for fiscal year 2020-21. The statutory requirement for the 3 separate readings is waived. Ordinance number 05-27-20-30 is given its first and second reading in the process of passage by title only. All councils having copies, and the third reading of the subject ordinance adopted by roll call vote.
This is President Dominguez speaking. Councilor Riona Dice, can you second that motion?
Second, Councilor Dice.
Thank you. President Dominguez speaking. Any discussion on this motion? Any counselor? Okay, seeing none, let's vote. Go ahead, City Clerk Ayala.
Counselor Book Jr.,
Yes.
Counselor Sadai,
Yes.
President Pro Temp Natartes,
Yes.
President Dominguez,
Yes.
Counselor Dice,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Goodwin,
Yes.
7 yes.
Okay, this is President Dominguez speaking. Thank you. The motion carries. All right. We move now to D. That's Counselor Rihanna Dice.
Okay,
Move that
the
to
general government budget ordinance 05-27-20-04. Cam, move to Cam.
Second.
Yep. It's been seconded by President Pro Tem Natartes. Okay. At this time, is there any discussion on this motion? Counselor Burke, go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, President Dominguez. I don't have any questions. I'd just like to make a quick comment. At our second reading of the budget, I was the sole counselor to vote no on both the general government and Board of Education budgets, which is okay. You know, we didn't get elected to all agree with each other all of the time. I respectfully disagree with my colleagues in the second reading and, you know, the administration on some points. But I just wanted to, you know, take this moment to reflect on, you know, some of the process that we've gone along to get here. You know, so throughout this process, we've seen, you know, many different sets of revenue projections, but things have gone up and down. However, the mill rate of 38.49 or 38.19 has never changed. Let me be clear. I know our community has an incredibly disproportionate property tax burden. I want to see the tax rate go down. The proposed 4.48 tax cut is a product of years of lean budgets and tough decisions made by the mayor and previous councils. I respect this legacy of hard work that led us to grand list growth, a growing rainy day fund, and increased bond ratings. However, at this time of global crisis, it is more critical than ever that we bolster public services. In order to fund the council's requested total appropriation at the first budget reading, we would require a mill rate of 38.49. That's still a 1.5 drop in the mill rate and nearly a 4% tax cut. We need to do everything we can for our students, our teachers, our public safety officials, our sanitation workers, and every one of our neighbors in the Whaling City to provide excellent public services throughout these trying times. So I do intend on voting no on the general government budget as well as the Board of Education's budget. I would have liked to see more go into the Board of Education's budget. So now that I've gotten that into the air, I have nothing further, but I thank all my colleagues for my first time through this process. And I look forward to doing it again with you all next year. Thank you very much.
President Dominguez speaking. Thank you, Councilor Burke. Any further discussion on this motion? Go ahead, President Pro Tem Natartes.
Thank you, President Dominguez. I want to thank Councilor Burke, because he does speak from the heart. I understand his points. We've had lots of discussion around this. This is your first budget. And I want to say a couple of things because we keep going back to the mill rate. And what I'm going to say about that is that for way too long, this city, as you mentioned, Councilor Burke, has had an incredibly alarming mill rate. I think that the hard work and dedication in this administration, especially over the last 2 years to grow that grand list, we should be, how do I want to say this? We should be giving back to the community in the sense that these taxpayers have been incurring these costs, both property tax and personal tax, for, in my opinion, for too long. So I don't think it's, I think it's appropriate that now we have the money in the grand list, that we give those individuals that are on fixed income, whether it's $100 or $20 extra, a decrease in their mortgage. To me, I think that's appropriate. And so I want to start there. The second thing I want to say is, yeah, we are in a pandemic. things are tough right now. I mentioned this on the last call on the second reading, and that is that we still have a lot of work to do on the Board of Ed side with transparency. And I mentioned that it isn't just about giving more money. It's about streamlining the process, making it more transparent, increasing communication between the Board of Ed and the government side. We're not going to get there overnight, but I am very confident that with this team, this council, that we're going to improve it. I can already see that. We're having dialogue and we're having discussion. So I'm going to vote in favor of it. Just like I discussed on the first and second reading, Councilor Burke, I appreciate your due diligence and doing the homework and being prepared. And I look forward to continuing to working with my co-councilors on these really, really difficult challenges, basically. Thank you, President Dominguez.
President Dominguez speaking. Thank you, President Pro Tem Natsatsis. Any other councilor who would like to speak during this time? Okay. Seeing none, let's vote. City Clerk Ayala, go ahead.
Goodwin, I think.
Okay.
Oh, Goodwin did? I'm sorry. Councilor Goodwin, hold on, City Clerk Ayala. This is President Dominguez speaking. Councilor Goodwin, did you want to speak?
No, I did. So because it's my first budget, I felt it was appropriate to say a few words, and my apologies, I'm outside. So I just wanted to address the budget. So I hear the sentiments from all of our residents that have concern on what do we value. And I definitely want the administration and us as a council to understand what it is they're asking from us. Because when you have this strong voice of folks saying we're not supporting our residents or our students, and we're not properly addressing the inadequacies that are going to come from whether it's lack of government funding or lack of revenue streams, there can't be this issue of lack of communication or correcting these sentiments that regard our youth. Our youth are first and foremost most important. So if we are giving the resources that are necessary, we need to ensure that we're communicating that and that the vision is being heard and that it's being articulated correctly. So I just want to make sure that even though this budget will probably pass as is, I do think there needs to be a much better process involved in how we communicate the budget and how we hear and address the concerns of our residents. I'll definitely leave on this note. Let's take, for instance, the committee that decides, the Appropriations Committee that decides on the ceiling. I know a lot of us were on that call, and as counselors and as residents, we were concerned in the either lack of information or the lack of conversation with regards of the budget we passed and the budget that the mayor passed. And I think that's not acceptable. In this day and age, we clearly see in the way the world is that it's not just about speaking from the heart or from passion. It's about what are the facts? What is the deficit? What is the planning that's necessary? We need to truly work on building that bridge with our education system. And it has to come from the top. It truly has to come from the top. I commend the mayor on the job he's done with answering and articulating, our questions regarding what are the deficits and saying that we have to plan. But where I disagree is how we did it and how we communicate it with. And we have to make sure that we're a little bit more ethical and a little bit more transparent with that process. And I guess I'll leave it on that one right there. But I definitely don't want the narrative to be is that us as a council or the mayor and the administration do not care about our youth, do not support our youth, or will not fund our youth if it makes rational sense. So I don't want that to be the narrative to all the folks that are listening on the call. I want to reassure you that as a council, regardless of how we vote, please know that the administration, we're pushing to make sure that youth and our residents are first. Sometimes there's conversations that don't get had in public, but just know that we're advocating for our youth. And I just don't want the narrative as we vote yes or move forward with this budget that James Burke seems like, he's alone looking for more money for the schools. I think it's a work in progress. And I think this is the first step. We hear you guys loudly. And I think the mayor, the administration as council will push to make sure there's more dialogue and there's more transparency on the facts regarding how do we fund our youth and how do we get them better equipped with tools. So that's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you. This is President Dominguez speaking. Thank you, Councilor Goodwin. At this time, is there any other councilor that would just speak? Councilor Dice, you have the floor, and then we'll follow you, Booker.
Okay. Counselor Dice speaking. First of all, this is my first budget process, and I shared with you that this experience, we have a deadline. And that's one of the things that we need to make sure that we follow our charter. We have to have everything done by the 31st. And I shared how you make changes is that you have to look how everything's set up and change the policy and set it up differently. And that was a concern with me when I had the opportunity to sit in on the meeting, and they gave us a cap. They changed the amount of money that that we can spend. And one of the things I shared at the last meeting is that it would have been I felt appropriate if we could have shared why we increased and what we did, but that information was not able to wasn't articulate, and so we didn't share it. So that concerns me. We weren't allowed to share. We were sitting there and listening to the meeting. So I guess I just wanted to say is that this group of council people, I am so proud to be working with them, because each one of them are concerned about every aspect in our community, especially our youth. And what we need to realize, it is not a city or education, because guess what? All of this support the youth. We have to have a good police force. We have to have good sanitation people. We have to have all those things working together to have a seamless city. So we need to really think about how we're going to work together and making sure that our children are supported holistically all the way around. It's not them against us. It's about all of us working together to support our youth. Thank you. This is Councilor Dice.
President Dominguez speaking. Thank you, Councilor Dice. Councilor Booker Jr., you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, President Dominguez. Just want to say, we hear you loud and clear. And I want to thank you all for coming out and speaking your true heart. But I know this city council here is totally for children and for building this city and moving this city forward. And when I think about this whole idea of education, I've been educated 20 years, okay, in middle school, high schools, colleges, and I go throughout this city volunteering my time, and I know when I see the residents starving and struggling, how are they going to pay their rent? How are they going to stay afloat when it comes to their mortgages? As a city, we have to think about some of those needs as well and making sure this money is allocated. So I hear you loud and clear. And this is my first budget as well as many of the 3 other councilors as well. And we had to really think about the decisions that we were going to make when it comes to making the proper decisions for the city and how we can keep the city afloat during this global pandemic. So what I would like to see in the future for the next budget season is the transparency and the communication between education and the city, making sure it's better and making sure we can move forward, because there are some strong leaders who are on this line right now, right in this virtual Zoom. And we need to make sure we're able to move forward as a collective next year so that we're not having these issues, that we're dealing with right this moment. So I want to thank all the councilors. I want to thank all of you as well who are on this in this virtual Zoom right now, this conversation that we're having, because it is so important that we move our city in a positive direction. But this is a very tough budget because we're forecasting we're forecasting and trying to project what is going to occur within the next year. So, please feel free anytime to reach out to any of us. One thing I know about this council and all the councilors that I'm working with and the mayor is that we truly care about this city and moving forward in this city. So thank you so much again for voicing your opinions, but I truly respect everyone's decisions and we work together, even with our disagreements. This is part of a democracy, and one thing we have in the city is a strong democracy. So I just want to say, let's continue to have transparency and let's continue to move forward as a city, because this is what we have to do. So I want to thank you very much for voicing your opinions, all of you that are in here right now. But it's hard, man. But thank you very much.
President Dominguez speaking. Thank you, Councilor Booker Jr. At this time, before we vote, let me just acknowledge and recognize Superintendent Ritchie, who's on the phone, and many of our administrators are here, and also I see Board of Education member Elaine Maynard is present, and many others. So I want to recognize the Board of Ed members and the administration and Superintendent Ritchie. Also, just wanted to also acknowledge that President Regina Mosey from the Board of Education was not able to make it because, again, as you all know, she is part of the healthcare workers and she had to pull a double. So she's not able to be here. But I know that she wanted us to follow through with whatever we had planned. Now, I'm going to say this, and I'll be brief. I don't think I can articulate it as well as Councilor Goodwin put it. But I go back to just briefly to the beginning. I know the administration has done well. We have, like Councilor Burke had stated, it's been tough, but we have made some advances. And I know it's due to the hard work of Mayor Passero and the administration and many of the key people that he hired. And I also know that Superintendent Ritchie has done great, with what with what she has, but we all talk and it's great. And, about, sometimes people say, Frank, yeah, I know your heart is with us, but we want more. It's not about the heart. And I understand that. But I have to say that there has to be an action plan. Okay. When I know what an action plan is, that you put something together and you follow it. That's an action plan. So I think that's coming. That's going to come in the future. That's going to come in the future. I'll make sure that I can address that with all the councilors, with President Pro Tem Nartates, with the councilors, which I totally agree. This is one of the best councils that I've been with. And it's an honor for me to be the president. But we're gonna establish an action plan coming up, and we're gonna talk about some things that we have to do to make this happen. Because I think, us talking and saying it, it's not happening. So we're gonna have to move up to another level. So with that said, I just appreciate both sides. I think the only way that we can do this is working together and not saying it, but making sure that there's an action plan and that we are following it through, and that we as councilor are holding everyone accountable, just as the residents of this great city hold us accountable. So with that said, I am going to ask City Clerk Ayala to make the roll call vote for this CAM.
Councilor Dice,
Yes.
Councilor Sadai,
Yes.
Councilor Burke,
No.
Councilor Goodwin,
Yes.
President Dominguez,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Nartates,
Yes.
Councilor Booker Jr.,
Yes.
6 yes, 1 no.
Okay, thank you, President Dominguez speaking. The motion carries. This time, item E, Councilor Burke. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, President Dominguez. Just so you know, President, I would be happy to read the CAM, but I do not wish to move the CAM.
Okay. So if you want, I can do it. I can do it then.
Sure.
Okay. I'll read it and I'll move it to Cam. Okay, here we go. The education budget ordinance 05-27-20-05. The city council approves the third reading of the education budget for fiscal year 2020 and 2021 in the amount of $44,200,759. Ordinance, yes.
Councilor Dice
21,000.
second. Oh, sorry.
President Dominguez, can
Yes.
you reread the amount, please?
Yes, 44 million, okay, 21,759. Ordinance number 27-20-05 is given its third reading and the process of passage by title only. All councilors having copies, and the third reading of the subject ordinance is adopted by roll call vote. I need a second for that. President Dominguez speaking.
Counselor Dice, second.
Counselor Goodwin.
Thank you, Councilor Dice has seconded the motion, the motion, and now, any discussion on this? I think we kind of talked about it in the previous camp. So if no one has any discussion, then we're gonna move to vote on this. Okay, City Clerk Ayala, go ahead and vote. Go ahead and make the roll call vote, excuse me.
It'd be nice if I could vote.
I don't know.
Okay. Thank you, President Dominguez.
You're welcome.
Counselor Goodwin,
Yes.
Counselor Dice,
Yes.
President Pro Temp Natartez,
Yes.
Counselor Sadai,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
No.
Counselor Booker Jr.,
Yes.
President Dominguez.
Yes,
6 yes, 1 no.
thank you. The motion carries. At this time, I'm gonna call on Councilor Sadi to make the last motion.
Like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, it's been seconded by President Pro Tem Nartates. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay, the motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Good evening, and God bless you. Bye-bye.